What's going on, YouTubers? Mopar Man 1978, as usual. In case you, for the newbies that didn't know or anything, just randomly checking out the channel and whatnot. Anyway, it's a mail call today from the video. FedEx just showed up, and we got our inline tube kit, or brake line kit I should say, for the entire vehicle. So let me go ahead and let's start breaking this open. Okay, I got the inline tube, brake line, fuel line, transmission line, instruction booklet. Don't really need that since I'm not a newbie to this type of stuff. If you're not, make sure you read all the instructions, all the little fine details. I will tell you though, all of this stuff is supposed to be bent to match, to be identical to the factory lines, brake lines I should say. Sometimes you might have to do a slight little tweaking to the lines, a little bit of adjustment, a little bit of bends. About every kit that I've got from inline tube, I've had to do that with. I mean, at least you're not having to sit there for hours and with regular brake lines and custom bend your own stuff. I mean, if you want to do that, that's fine. I mean, I've had to do that before before all this type of stuff was available. Just go to the auto parts store and buy long sections of tubing and measure and cut it off and bend it and flare it and all that sort of thing. Which here, but down the road, I will be getting a better quality flaring kit, maybe one from Eastwood parts catalog, the auto body fabrication supply catalog. If you haven't checked them out, make sure you check them out. They're really good. They've got a lot of hard to find auto body stuff. But anyway, let's see here. Oh, they gave us let's see here. Inline business card. Anyway, all right, see, we got right here, this is the across the rear end. I know we're kind of in the shade today. Let's see if we can go out here. As you can see, across the rear end brake line kit. If your vehicle already came with the dual reservoir master cylinder, these are the new brake lines. I did mention in the previous video, especially for any of the newbies to the channel, when you go to put this on, I mean, the fitting ends and all that stuff, they work great, but you can't just put this on and bolt it right up. Unfortunately, you're going to have to, what I had to do is I had to basically almost, instead of this being a circle, I've had to almost kind of crush it into where it was kind of almost oval shaped or egg shaped to expand the lines outward and upward. Because when I went to try to line it up, when I tried to start it into the little brass portioning block on the frame, these would not line up. So, and then I also had to do a little bit of tweaking on the bends here to get them to, for this these fittings here on the end and the flared part to go straight up and down, and then have some of this bent a little bit more through here to line up, and then move these over a little bit so they would line up with the master cylinder. So they're not 100% bent correctly, but it's better than nothing. I bought all the same kit for my 65 Dart that goes on this Valiant. This is just the regular metal lines. I think it was 155 plus $22 and some change for shipping, and then I've added another $3 on for insurance, which I don't know. It all seemed to show up without being damaged and stuff. I don't know whether if it was worth the extra $3 or not. I don't think I paid $3 on the last time, but anyway, the wind's picking up quite a bit. Sorry for all the noise in the background. Now the dart way back there, I bought the same kit, but the kit was stainless steel instead of the regular steel lines. I think I might, just to be on the safe side, since this car is going to see a lot of daily driving, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and rough up all the brake lines with a maroon auto body Scotch-Brite pad, and then clean them up. And then I think I might shoot them with a coating of either an epoxy silver, epoxy aluminum, or I might do the Rust-Oleum hammered finish that looks like aluminum or silver or whatever, bare metal, so they don't start rusting up. So anyway, I showed you those two, and I believe these two here, get out here in the sun again in case it's this piece here that's zip tied together. I think it runs all the way over to there. This is for your front brake line. These are your front brake lines. This one goes driver's side. The really long one goes from the passenger side across the firewall, if you didn't already know that. And then this one here, it's got the big, let's see if we can see it, the big circular bend in it. This is for your going from your brass block on the frame clear back to the back fender well and up over facing towards your rear end. And of course what you want to make sure you do is be very gentle and slowly bend this loop out straight, and just take your time. And also a little tech tip, on these fittings you got a couple different options. What is usually the problem with all the vehicles that are daily drivers after many years is these fittings, once they're screwed in tight to make sure they don't leak, water likes to get in between the threads and rust these fittings to the brass or other metal fittings that they're screwing into, or the water likes to run down back behind in between this fitting and the tube and rust, and what I call rust weld both of them together. So when you try to take it off, it just snaps the whole entire line in half. So what I do, a couple different ways you can do it that I do. You can put some Teflon tape on these threads and just make sure you tighten it up real good, or you can use blue Loctite, which is soft enough to pop loose, but it keeps the water from rusting up the threads. And on the back side, once you get them all tightened down and you don't need to mess with them anymore, you could take a thin layer of 700 degree copper gasket sealant and smear all the way around there, so it's you got an even solid coat. There are no gaps. And what that does is it seals that line up between that line and that fitting, so no water gets down in there and rusts weld them two together. And then if you ever have to take the line back apart, or off I should say, you can just take your little screwdriver or a pocket knife or something and just peel that off, and it'll peel right off with no issues. You don't want to use black RTV or ultra black RTV or any other stuff, because it's going to be a pain in the ass to try to peel off. But I found that if the copper gasket sealant It comes in the squeeze tube. Is the easiest to take off, and it peels right off, but it'll keep that water from getting down in there. So that's a couple different ways you can do that. But anyway, I'm going to get started on this video by getting the I might do a two-part, don't know yet. I got to be at work by 1, and it's like 11 minutes after 11, so I might just start on the front stuff and work my way to the back. And once I get down to where I got the line that goes along the frame to the back, I might pretty much stop for the day. Maybe part 2 is once I get the rear end scrubbed up and sprayed with some rust killer, and then I coat it in some nice industrial black or some black epoxy chip resistant suspension paint. I will put the factory distribution brass block back on and bolt that down, and then get the run the brake lines and all that stuff back on. That'll be another video probably, but anyway, stay tuned. Okay guys, one quick little deal. When you buy this kit, like I said, it comes with the dual reservoir master cylinder lines. If your vehicle does not have that, I mean, you'll have to just keep this or turn around and sell it. And speaking of that, if somebody in the comment section or watching this video or whatever is interested in this, let me know. Send me a comment below, and I'll get with you, and I'll sell this really cheap. I don't need it. I've already got one for the Valiant and one for the Dart already on it, because I have no use for these. Unfortunately, when you buy the kit, they come with them no matter what. You can't you can't ask them to keep that separate. Now I do have this one that I mentioned in other videos. This is the one for up to 64, I think like 62 to 64 A bodies. This one's different than the one for 65 to 66 on the inline tube. Advertisements on their actual web page. It will say 62 to 65 or some crap like that, but it don't actually fit because I tried it. So I got this one. So if you know somebody that's got early 60s to 64 A body, let me know. I'm trying to get rid of this. I don't need it. And if somebody wants the old factory stock brass block that's set up for the little single master cylinder for the drum brakes, I got that too. Send me a comment down below. Anyway, the only thing you got to do, if you've got the engine in the vehicle, you will have to disconnect the throttle rod off of the engine. Let's see here, make sure I don't lose that. And just take it out because it gets in the way. And then what you got to do is you got to move some of this out of the way, and you'll have to bend these factory tabs that hold the line on back a little bit, and go from there. And you will also need to remove, or at least move out of the way, disconnect your wiring harness off of the engine to move it up out of the way. Just enough to get the brake line in there. Maybe even pop this off. And set this over there like that to keep it up out of the way. And then also your factory, if you have it, your ground strap that goes from the firewall to the engine. Alright, so I got the line. If you absolutely have to, just disconnect this from the oil pressure sending unit, and then these two from off of these three off of the or should they coil, and these two off of the alternator, or vice versa, or whatever, just to get this main wiring harness out of the way. But as long as you get the line up like this, you're able to let's see if we can get it better here. There we go. Get this section down here to bypass the steering and the I believe the speedometer cable. Into position, just like that. Like I said, you got to do a little bit of bending, just a little bit, so you can get this to go down in there. Like I said, they're not bent 100% correctly, but they're, I'd say, 98% done right. You just got to be real careful. There you go. There. Now, like I said, just take your time, be real careful. Bend it just a little bit. So see now how we got the line in there, and you don't want to automatically just start bending these tabs back into position. You want to leave them loose. Get that one up over the tab, the clip, I should say, factory tab that you bend back down once you get it in position. Now as you can see, here's the factory line. You'll have to do a little bit of adjustment. And all I did was temporarily, let's see if we can get the focus. There we go. Temporarily put that fitting inside where the rubber brake line mounts up, just to kind of temporarily anchor that into position. And then come over here. And sorry, as you can see, let me get the sunlight out of my face while I'm underneath here. Sorry about this, guys, but like I said, I got in the previous video. There we go. I'd put I bought one of those cheap O'Reilly, really cheap brake bleeding kits with all the different fittings in there. And all I did was I put a fitting that would fit in this brass distribution block, and then put a cotter pin in the end so no bugs or dirt or dust or anything would get in here while this was open or not hooked up to the actual brake lines. Same thing on the back and on the side. But now, since we have the line done, all you got to do So like I said, you got to do a little light bending. And before you know it, you'll have that straightened up and in position to be properly installed and tightened down. But anyway, there's that one. Again, I can't stress this enough. Take your time. Bend the line a little bit at a time, not too much. Get it to where it lines up straight. And make sure if this is at an angle or anything's at an angle, make sure this is at the same angle. And as you're using the open end of a wrench, or you're using an actual brake line wrench, fitting wrench, make sure you pull back on the line as you're tightening this down to make sure this all lines up properly, because you don't want to have this line kind of at an angle or kinked and then try to tighten this up and you'll end up bending up that flared end. Like I said, just take your time. And I got this finger tight, so that's in position. Okay, we're back up top. I made sure this was in the proper position over here. Bent the tab back down. And I came over here, made sure this line down here wasn't sticking way out, and bent back into the position a little bit just by pressing my palm of my hand down there. And then when I got this into position, I bent the tab back, so that's good to go. Like I said, this is for the newbies. I mean, you guys have been doing this for years, you know. You don't have to watch this. You can ignore this part or whatever. And then this one here, this line will have to come up and be bent a little bit more to fit the contour of the frame. See what I mean? And it's got to come up a little bit. And then once this comes up, you're going to have to be very careful and readjust this so it comes down. Instead of being back at an angle, it's going to have to be like this. It's going to have to be straight up and down. Even if you have to bend this in a little bit to get it to line. There we go. They probably help. Sorry guys. To get this to line straight up and down like that, but up here to reach up over the top of where the rubber hydraulic hose line fitting is at the top, and this goes down in there. So like I said, just be gentle, take your time, little baby steps, and you won't end up tearing something up and having to go buy another line or whatever again. But there is that one. And okay, now we're back over here to the driver's side. Let me get back underneath the car here. See if I can get a better angle. Well, I might be able to if I can. There we go. Maybe. Anyway, see that hole right there? That hole right there? That's for the driver's side brake line that goes up to face the back side of the brake master, or the drum brake on the driver's side. And so this piece here give me just a minute. Alright guys, I just found out something interesting. I thought at first maybe I jumped the gun and had the brake line that went across the firewall on the wrong position on the opposite side. I've rechecked it and it was not. This fitting here, it goes on the driver's side, actually comes up. It goes directly into the front of the metering block facing towards the engine, or I should say the driver's side control arm. This piece here that's sticking down that I originally had in the block was supposed to be bent and go sideways into the block, this distribution block. So I'm going to have to bend it and readjust it. So that is a factory error. But stay tuned and I'll have this taken care of. Alright guys, gals, I had to basically bend, let's see here, this line back a little bit at an angle, bend this piece right there back and around, and bring this section down here down and turn it this way till it lined up. And I had to take, I don't know if you can see it, this line that goes up to the master cylinder and bend it over a little bit by hand up top here to curve out away so it'll clear this here. But anyway, this is in position now. And don't over tighten these. Tighten them where they just stop and then give them a slight little snug. Anyway, those are all waiting, and I leave the rubber caps on them to make sure dust and bugs don't get up in them, and then when I get done with them I save them for future projects to cap stuff off. Anyway, there's that one. And that's going to be part 1. Stay tuned for part 2, and on part 2 we'll be running the brake line from up here on the frame, from the distribution block all the way back to the very back. Until next time, feel free to subscribe, it's free. Tell your friends. Later.